politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter into those magical boxes called radios, aka Howard machines. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. A lot to talk about. It's the week, the first day or the first Monday after Turkey Day, but lots to talk about. Anyway, before we go any further, let's go to the studio with El Senor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beba. Good morning, brothers.
Yes. Good morning, Egberto. It's another fine day at the radio. Monday morning at the radio, and you say Turkey Day. Well, you got a couple of turkeys right here.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. 3 then. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Yeah. Hey, turkeys into coming in here.
Yeah. It's like did I want to come to work this morning? The answer was a resounding no.
It was cold. It was cold.
Oh, it's not cold out there. It's a little chilly. What gets me is the people who move down here from New York and up north. It gets to be 40 degrees and they're going, I'm freezing to death. Like, what?
Yeah, well, nah.
We still have our flip-flops and sandals on, man.
Well,
so anyway.
I don't know, man. I'm still cold. I have this heater blowing on me. It's like, oh, God, I'm cold. But anyway.
Well,
I'm a hot-blooded guy.
You are indeed. Fortunately, not a hot head, just hot-blooded.
Just hot-blooded. You got it, brother.
You have a whole page of wisdom over there, man. We need to get to that as soon as we can.
Yeah.
I've been devoid of wisdom for a week from Jack. So, what you got, man?
I got something about a little thing on Medicare Advantage this morning. A government. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good. I'm fine, my brother. I can't wait to hear because there are about 6 or 5 more days left before people have to sign up. So I just want you to let it go, brother. Let it go.
Okay. At the very end, I make a point about the rich and the not so rich and how it affects each other. This deal. Okay, a government that allows industry to prey and outright lie to its citizen is a government the citizens need to change. Medicare Advantage supplemental insurance is just such an industry. People who have retired with enough savings and can afford supplemental insurance policies. Hold on, I didn't read that one right. People who have retired with enough savings and can afford supplemental insurance policies, you don't have to purchase a Medicare Advantage policy. With a Medigap policy will serve you as well or better. Medicare Advantage fools you into thinking you're going to get something for free. They even offer zero premium Medicare Advantage premiums. Why? To trick you into a policy that the insurance company controls. You've all heard of the Medicare Advantage horror stories of denial of care and services. So you know it's a scam to profit off of administering your health care. It's a dope deal. The first one's free. When the wealthy unknowingly buy these policies, it sets the bar too high for the poor and working poor to afford. So by buying a Medicare Advantage insurance out of convenience does a disservice to your fellow citizens. Does an outright disservice because you're just paying those guys to cheat us.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Exactly right. You said at the end you want to say something else about the billionaires or something like that, Jack?
That was the last point.
Okay.
When the people unknowingly, that just because they can afford Medicare Advantage policy, and they could afford a Medigap policy just as easy. If they choose the Medicare Advantage policy, it makes that industry stronger. You know,
Exactly. No,
so
exactly right. Exactly right. So
yes,
look, let me go ahead and that wasn't my subject for today, but it is of such importance, brother. I want to say a few words about it. So thank you for bringing that up, especially since December 7th is the last day for people. It occurs, the window is between October 15th and December 7th. And what most of our seniors are going to find out now is that their telephones, their telephones are going to be ringing off the hook, trying to sucker them into these Medicare Advantage plans. And if they don't answer the phone, they're going to keep calling, and harassing and harassing. In fact, there are a few telemarketing companies that have been called out, and some are facing charges because of what they're doing to our elderly, to our seniors, to people that are of Medicare Advantage age. They constantly call them, they fool them into believing they must change their plan from traditional Medicare to Medicare Advantage, whether they can afford it or not. I mean, whether they can afford Medicare, traditional Medicare or not. So, I mean, folks, this is the time. December 7th is the closing date for signing up. So you're going to be bombarded both on TV, on radio, on emails, on paper. You'll be getting a whole lot of stuff in the mail. There may be some of these people walking around in your neighborhoods trying to sign you up. And you know why they're trying to do that? It's very lucrative. If they sign for every old person, every senior, every 65-year-old and above, they sign out. For that one signature, that's thousands of dollars into the pockets of that person who sold you that policy. Let me just tell you a bit about how this stuff works. The government made a promise because private insurance companies didn't think it was they could make money from insuring older people because older people get sicker. They did it. They would insure regular folks, younger people, because they don't use as much healthcare. But you see what's happening. They're still suckering the younger people right now. But older people, they wouldn't insure at all. So what happened? The government, we the people, said since the private sector won't insure us, what we will do is we will go ahead and provide insurance for all Americans over 65, and we will pay 80% of the bill. And later on, we made some issues to prepare a drug program, etc. But 20% of it, well, you're going to have to get a supplemental private insurance or pay it out of pocket. Of course, if you have a $200,000 bill, you don't want to pay $10,000 or $40,000 out of your pocket. So you'll buy a supplemental insurance, or if you're poor enough, Medicaid will take care of that portion of the bill. And for that benefit, the government was paying all those bills for you. Well, the private sector, now that it has a sugar daddy, said, hey, the government is willing to pay now. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tell the government, why don't you let me administer that for you? And we could probably even keep your costs down. That's what the private sector told the government after they said, we will not insure older people because they cost too damn much. So the private sector comes in, the charlatans, the capitalists comes in, and they said, how could we sucker the government? They bribe the government into letting them take over Medicare, and for those people who want them to, and they present a few a few little trinkets that traditional Medicare doesn't give you offhand, like hearing, vision, and something else that I'm missing. Hearing, what else is here? Hearing, vision, and dental. They say, oh, we'll include that in our plan. By the way, what they include in the plan is generally not very good, but they include that in the plan. And what they tell the government is for every person that switches from traditional Medicare to standard Medicare, at current rates, they give them close to $10,000, between $8,000 and $10,000 per person per year to go ahead and administer that for them. So once you sign up with them, they're happy. because you are giving them, let's say, on average, $8,000 or more to that insurance company. But they got to sell it to you. So they give it to insurance agents to go sell it to you. And they make it lucrative for the insurance agents to really go ahead and catch all you guys, to tell you guys that great traditional Medicare that allows you to go to any doctor, anything that you want, right? Because you want what's best for your health. They have to convince you to go to the private sector, that private insurance plan that tells you which doctor you can see, what medicines you can take. And wait a minute, if you need to get pre-authorized, if you need to get some procedure, maybe a CAT scan, maybe an ultrasound, you first have to beg the insurance company to say, please, please, please. The doctor has to say, please, the patient that I'm seeing needs this procedure. Will you approve it? And too often, I think like 20% of the times or so, the insurance company says, hell no, let them die. I'm not kidding you. I'm using those words. But that's exactly what happens with the private sector. Because while the government's Medicare is for your health, they care about you. We, the people, care about you. The private sectors, their fiduciary responsibility, they owe their existence. Their only reason for them to want to serve you is to make a profit for shareholders who own that private health insurance company and the executives who get big bonuses for signing you up and denying you care. And because the way they make a profit is denying you care. They can only make a profit if they spend less money on your health care so that the remainder goes into their pockets. That is not hyperbole. That is how economics work. And that's why you would hear Politics Done Right continuously say healthcare does not belong in the private markets because it's about your health. Do you want to sell a pizza? That belongs in the private sector. Do you want to sell a car? That belongs in the private sector. But things that are of life and death, things that you actually depend on permanently, it does not belong in the private sector. And the reason the private sector wants those products in there as well is because guess what? Unlike you have a choice when you want to buy a car. Do I want to buy this car, that car? Do I want to buy an expensive car, a cheap car? When you have an ailment, when you are sick, you don't have a choice. You have to go get care. You have a choice whether you want to drive a car or take the bus or take the train. So therefore, that belongs in the private sector where people can make deals with you to offer you more or less. When it comes to your health care, you don't want the private sector involved. They're not more efficient. Their sole purpose in any private business, the sole purpose is to make a profit and maximize the shareholder value, maximize the amount of money the people who invest in that company gets. It's not rocket science. And anything they tell you otherwise is to convince you to put your health at risk to make somebody a buck. I don't know how much simpler to tell you we have to stop being hoodwinked. We have to stop being hoodwinked. Medicare Advantage is private health care. It's not government health care like Medicare traditional. Medicare Advantage is a scam. Medicare Advantage is a fraud. And if you have Medicare Advantage because your government, our government has allowed a fraudulent structure within Medicare to exist, I am sorry. You may be stuck with it, but realize that Medicare Advantage is a fraud. It's a scam. It's a way to make money for capitalists. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not the benevolence of a company wanting to do good for you. No company just wants to do good for you. Companies are there to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making money. But there are certain places we shouldn't be making money based on the services we give you. And healthcare is one of them. And that's why we support healthcare for all. So if you're already stuck with Medicare, what should you do? If you're healthy, in my opinion, don't just take my opinion, you have to get advice. But in my opinion, if you're healthy and you can get a Medigap policy on an inexpensive way, you get rid of Medicare Advantage, get back to traditional Medicare that gives you the true health care, and get a policy that you can afford for the 20%. And to tell you bluntly, if you can't afford it, there are a lot of doctors that let that 20% go. They'll throw that away because they understand they overbill anyway. But if you're stuck, continue to work with those of us that are teaching people about the fraud that is Medicare Advantage and working to elect people that have your best interest. We educate people so that they understand that what needs to be done is for us to have true universal health care, Medicare for all. And I'm not only talking about for people 65 and over, I'm talking for all Americans, just like we have in Great Britain, Canada, France, Taiwan, China, Japan, Israel. Israel is taking all our monies for defense. You know where they invest a lot of their money? In their healthcare system, in their universal healthcare system. And we, the people of America, we go broke when we get sick. We spend a lot of money when we get sick. Look, it's time, folks. It's time for us to stop being hoodwinked. They use all kind of techniques to fool us. They use all kind of techniques to lie to us. They use all the isms to have us fighting among each other so we can't come together for policy that supports us all. That is what we need to work on. Thank you, Jack. I think this needed to be said, especially now before December 7th. You turning the subject to that has been very important. That's why I so appreciate you, brother. I mean, sometimes you make us think about things that need to be said out there. Now, before I go to Alan, John, and Johnny, I want to say something else. And this is important. Joe Biden just pardoned his son yesterday. And in pardoning his son, did you want to say something? Did I hear somebody come in? Okay, I guess
No.
not. Okay, Joe Biden pardoned his son. And to show you how corrupt the media is. Look, is Joe Biden's son a man of privilege? A guy who got deals because of who his father was? Yes. Is he a dope head? Yes. Did he hold up a gun when he was on dope? Yes. He did all those things. A lot of people do those things. All right. Most of us don't, but a lot do. A lot don't get caught. A lot don't get caught up. All right. But based on the things that this man did, if he was anybody else's son other than Joe Biden's son, he would not have been prosecuted. We have a president that comes in with an FBI that wants to put in an FBI director called Patel, that wants to come back at retribution for all these people that they don't like. Joe Biden, in my humble opinion, if I was a dad, I would do the same thing that Joe Biden did in pardoning his son. He needs to pardon quite a few other people out there. I imagine he will have a list of people to pardon. Now, my concern with the fraudulent mainstream media is I just heard today on Joe Biden, one of the people come out and say, well, Joe Biden should have just stopped and said, I'm pardoning this because he's my son. But once he said that the Justice Department would not have convicted or charged anybody else if it wasn't his son, that was a bit too far. No, it wasn't. It's the truth. That's the case. How comes this same reporter didn't make mention of all the people Donald Trump pardoned, some of who have already beaten their wives and started committing crimes again? None of you have heard that on TV, right? That's what Trump did. Pardon guys that have already started recommitting crimes again. Have you heard that? No, you haven't. But Biden pardoned his son, and it's such a bad thing. The media, the mainstream media, if you want to know why it is lacking of support, welcome aboard Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. If you want to know why nobody trusts them, it's because it's neither fair nor balanced. It is always anybody that shows any proclivity to progressivism, this is what we get. But anyway, let's go to Alan. Come on in, Alan.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me.
Yeah, I had a United Dual Complete PPO, and somehow I got switched over to Advantage HMO.
Mm-hmm.
And
Let me explain that to you, sir, because we covered this before, and one of the and I want everybody to hear your story. I want everybody to hear your story. The government allowed, and hear me closely, everybody that's listening. And this is where we need to fight government to say stop carrying the water for these insurance companies, these private companies, and protect Americans. You may not have noticed it, Alan, but you got a piece of mail 90 days before they made that switch, telling you that you would be placed from Medicare into Medicare Advantage. All right, because you were signed up with a company that does both Medicare and Medicare, meaning the Medigap as well as Medicare Advantage, and they have the right. The government gave them the opportunity to put you into their Medicare Advantage plan and give you 90 days to opt out. If you don't opt out within those 90 days, I think it's 90 days now. If you don't opt out within those 90 days, you're stuck with Medicare Advantage. What I would do is I would go to if that's not what you want, which I hope it's not, I would go to the company who gave you that Medicare Advantage PPO, let them know that you did not receive that mail at all, and to put you where you want to be. Is that understood?
that's what I did.
And what did they do?
Put me back where I was.
Excellent, 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 excellent. You did the right thing, but I hope others that are listening today, Alan, use yours as a learning experience because it is very important, sir.
Well,
Anything
if I
else?
don't want what I don't want, I don't want it.
Say that again.
I was saying, I didn't want the advantage, so why should I take the advantage?
Exactly,
So I
exactly.
called them up and told them, put me back in the PPO, dual complete, and leave me alone.
Thank you, thank you. That is what we need all our seniors, our people over 65 to do. You did the right thing, sir.
Well, I know that.
All right,
I've been
good, good.
listening.
Well, thank you. I am so happy you've been listening, brother. But look, thank you so kindly for your call, brother Allen. And you call back anytime you want to, okay?
Thank you. You
Have a
keep doing what you're doing. It's good.
Thank you, brother. You have a wonderful day. All right, let's go to John. Come on in, John.
Humberto, a couple of things. I know y'all brought up the Medicare Advantage, and I've been on a Medigap for 15 years. I learned 15 years ago that Advantage was a scam, and it is a scam, and that's really all I need to say about it. Y'all are correct. It's just like you said. Where are the commercials? The commercials pay the networks. The networks are going to keep pounding you with those commercials about Medicare Advantage, okay? Now, my real topic was this, and I saw this on the news yesterday. Ted Cruz had an interview on TV, and I'm afraid to say this, that he was right in what they're saying now, but it's a topic I've been talking about for years and years and years. And Trump is going to stumble onto this. Somebody stumbled onto it, and he's doing it with his mafioso-style diplomacy. He threatened Mexico, he's threatened Canada, and they're going to fall for it. And not Canada so much, but Mexico. And that's, I started working for the United Farm Workers back in the 60s. So it's been a long time. And the fight then was reversed than what it is now. But they stumbled onto it because of this threat to this Mexican president. She now sounds like she's going to give in to that threat and not going to call him on his bluff. And I've been saying this for so long. Look, the problem is not at the border. The problem, and not at the United States-Mexican border. The problem was at the other end of the Mexican border with Guatemala. You allow those people to come all the way through, and not one U.S. president, not Eisenhower, not Johnson, Kennedy, Obama, nobody ever went to Mexico and said, we need to do something about this and deal with it diplomatically until Trump threatened them. And they're going to stumble into it. And he's already on that article, in that interview on TV, he already was praising Trump for, look, Biden didn't do it. And he's right. Biden didn't do it. And he's going to say, Trump did this. He's going to clean up the border. He's going to straighten out that problem. And they're going to negotiate because and I know, they need those workers. They need that tax money. And it's absolutely stupidity to get rid of all those people because you're going to get rid of all those taxes, all that money they make. And it's way beyond millions anymore. That's going to happen.
I don't know if I'm understanding. I think I need to understand a little bit further before I comment. What are you saying that Cruz was right about?
He's going to say that Trump is the first president to actually go to Mexico and threaten them to make Mexico clean up the border. Not the
okay,
United
good. I
States.
thought that's what you were saying. Let me make a correction. Okay, I get it. You corrected me. Let me make a correction there, okay? Because I think we have it all wrong. First of all, I was very proud of the response from the Mexican government. In fact, from Claudia Sheinbaum, I was very proud of the response that she gave. I was very disappointed in the response from Trudeau. And let me explain. What she said is this is something that tariffs not going to solve. If you throw tariffs on us about the border, we're going to throw the tariffs right back at you. That's what Sheinbaum said. So she didn't appease Trump. She said, you throw tariffs at us, we're going to throw it back at you. And then she also told Trump, by the way, if you use some of what you spend on your defense budget to go to Latin America and the Caribbean to solve the problems that you created, because it's America who's responsible for all those people that are coming from those South Americans and Caribbean countries to the United States. You see, that's not reported here in the United States. But the rice farmer in Haiti is no longer farming because of the benefits that the American Haiti Treaty gave the benefits to the American farmer. And we can go with what the agricultural companies have done in Central America. We can do a whole lot of history as to why people are migrating here. So we are screwing these people in their countries. And when they come over here, we're saying, get out, get out, get out. No, I'm sorry. And that is what Sheinbaum in her letter to Donald Trump told her. So what I'm trying to tell you, Brother John, is you have to hear the proper narrative, and which she did. Sheinbaum did, Trudeau did not. She also pointed out, by the way, Mr. Trump, you are really concerned about fentanyl coming across the border to your people. Let's remember, it is your people who are dope heads, not our people, your people who want the drugs. And guess what, Mr. Trump? If you want to get those precursors for the fentanyl from coming into your country, go to China and other Asian countries that are making the precursors and shipping them to Mexico and Canada so that they get into the United States. We are not the ones that have a drug problem. You guys are the ones who have a drug need, and some capitalist is providing you with the supply. And third, Mr. Trump, you know how that drug trade gets done with guns? Guns to protect the drug dealers. Those guns are not made in Mexico, Mr. Trump. Those guns are made in the United States and shipped across the border. Maybe we should throw a tariff on you for those drugs that are killing all these Mexicans to get the drugs that your people need. You hear the difference in story, John? The story isn't
Oh,
what
yeah.
Trump is talking.
I
But
agree.
wait, hold on a second, my dear brother. Hold on a second. What I'm saying is it's a different narrative than what Trump is trying to put out there. And what I'm saying is Mexico handled it correctly. Mexico put Donald Trump in his place. And what did Donald Trump do afterwards? Get on the phone with Mexico and then said to Chambon, we had a good conversation. There ain't no, like I pointed out in a blog that I wrote yesterday as well, I said, this entire immigration crap is nothing but a con job that Donald Trump is about to put on by creating camps for people that we don't need so that his cronies can make money building these camps. And number two, from taking payoffs from the agricultural companies who are going to pay him off not to have the FBI, not to have the Migra go in and export those, throw those workers out that we all need in America. So no, Trump doesn't have it right, and Ted Cruz doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So, well, actually,
Oh,
Ted Cruz knows what he's talking about. Go ahead, go
we
ahead.
know, but what Ted Cruz is talking about is pure propaganda. You hit the nail right on the head. The immigration thing is a diversion from what's really going to happen in Washington, and everybody
Right.
wants to look at the border. But what they're going to do, and I don't agree with it. I hate it, but they're going to make Trump look good to his base. Because
Right.
what he's look, he's doing something about the border. There's never been a problem at the border like they exposed it as.
Brother
And
John,
the
Brother
media
John,
is
you're
corrupt.
correct.
They don't
Brother
tell you the
John,
truth.
you're correct.
Yeah.
Brother John, in that regards, you're
Yeah.
correct. I got to go to Johnny, but before I go to Johnny, I want to say something.
Thanks
You,
for listening, man.
yeah, you get it, brother. You get it. But let me just say one other thing, okay?
Thanks for listening. Yeah.
All right. Let me say one other thing. Remember this. Donald Trump base is not as big as you think it is. In fact, I just got a tweet that says, Egberto, it continues. Donald Trump won the presidency once again with less than 50% of the votes of the American people. Unfortunately, we had third parties that came in, but also as I wrote in my blog on Saturday, Kamala Harris, and a lot of people don't like to hear the truth, but you take a look at how Kamala lost. Kamala lost this election because of her race and gender. Combination of we don't have a bad economy, and people know we don't have a bad economy. And if you doubt me, let's take a look at the elections in North Carolina, where Democrats swept all the at-large positions. All the at-large positions were swept by Democrats except Kamala Harris. We can go to Wisconsin. We can go to the other states where all the at-larges outperformed Kamala Harris. And when you take a look at the reasons people said that they didn't vote for Kamala Harris, it was a facade. It was a facade where the economy was the facade. Anyway, let's go to Johnny.
Hope you all had a happy tofu turkey weekend.
Yes, I did.
That's good. And in your defense, by the way, I'm near the coast. You know that. I'm like 10 miles north up the causeway. And it's just a hair under 40 degrees outside. And my footsies are cold. So I can't even begin to imagine what you're feeling. I can't even begin to imagine what you're feeling like way up there in Kingwood. Kingwood, holy cow. They're colder, way colder than we are down here in the winter many of the days.
Yes,
and
yes.
And in the summer, you guys are way hotter than we are. So
Yes.
even with all the trees and stuff. So anyway, that's to your defense. But I was starting to laugh listening to that first caller, Alan, I was expecting him to start channeling Tim Walz in that he says, I felt like telling the Medicare insurance the Advantage Insurance Company to mind your gut. I mean, mind your own business. Mind your damn business.
I love Alan. Alan was great, wasn't he? I mean, I want every senior, every person over 65 to be like Alan. He was right up in their face. I love it. Go ahead, brother.
Tim Walz should call Tim Walz and say, hey, Tim Walz, I know you're not running no more, but if you run for another office, why don't you share my story and tell the Advantage people to mind your own dead business too while they're at it. So to dovetail what you're talking about with these Medicare Advantage scams, as you probably remember, I had a family member who back in April had an almost heart attack. And we called EMS, and he went out to UTMB, and he's a long-term patient there. They had all the information on him, so they got to work right away. And the next day, they performed a procedure where they installed 2 stents.
Yeah, they put a stent. Yeah.
Right. He needed 3, but they did 2 because they had to wait 30 days to do the third one. And I got in conversation with the doctors, and it turns out it wasn't a medical decision. It was the requirement of the Advantage company. I'm guessing, and I joked with them, and they didn't contradict me. I'm thinking, you know why they told you guys to wait 30 days to give him the third stent? It's because they wanted to be sure not to be sinking money into my cousin in case he kicked the bucket. They want to make sure that he survived the first procedure, and if he survives, go ahead and do procedure number 2. That's where we're at with Advantage. It's not an advantage except to them. And who knows? Their business model right now, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time I looked at their numbers, what was it, 17% of their cases they have to deny in order to make a profit? And with Trump and all, holy cow, 2, 3, 4 years from now, that 17% might jump up to 27%. God help us.
No, let me tell you, that story with your cousin and the third stent. The funny thing about it is not getting that third stent, because, they put the stent where they find the blockages, right? And if that other blockage closed within that 30 days, it creates an infarct within your heart in that location, right? Or wherever that vessel feeds. So they are actually opening up the potential for him to die in that 30 days. It's such a shameful thing, but that is what we do with healthcare. And a lot of people always say, well, if we go to government-run healthcare, which is not what we're talking about. We're talking about government pay, that there's no insurance companies, government pays insurance. But if we go to government pay, we're going to have waiting lines. My daughter has an appointment for her neurologist. The neurologist referred her to a specialist, right? Do you know that appointment, because it's not a super emergency, she has to wait 3 months. If that isn't rationing care, I don't know what is. 3 months.
You want to hear my example of another ration care with my same cousin? He has dental dentures, right? And so because dental work and vision is not covered by Medicare or anything, it's totally private. You talk about a line. There was no physical line. No, they kept resending his appointment because the first time this dental place, I forget the name of this company. It's a chain of a dental care. They kept telling him that the certain lady, or Lydia, or whatever her name is, one of the assistants was out on maternity leave. And then 2 weeks later, when he had his reset appointment, he was going to show up, and then they said, oh, we have to reset the appointment again. They reset his appointment 4 times on him, and the dentures still didn't come out right. And now he's having to make another appointment 7, 8 months later. So he just called the other day to make an appointment. These dentures are not working and they're hurting. So now we got to go through that all over again. And I'm wondering if we're going to go through this whole merry-go-round of appointment resets over and over and over again. That is not government-run healthcare. That's the private sector. Just like at the McDonald's. McDonald's is private, but you're still waiting in line. You can still get things screwed up.
Let me tell you, It's a lie. Anybody believe that the private sector is more efficient? That's the biggest lie and fallacy out there. The same managers and otherwise that you'd have in the government sector are the same ones that you would have in the private sector. It's the biggest fraud on Americans' intelligence, but we buy it all the time. And that's why we have politics done right to let people know. Let's wisen up and stop allowing people to lie to us. Thank you very much, Johnny. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
One last thing. That's why we also need KPFTs, because on NPR last night at 9 o'clock, when I was tuning in, I heard the news about Joe Biden pardoning his son, and you know how NPR reported it. Guess what? It was like I thought I was listening to an ad for. By the way, they run ads for Advantage too. By the way.
Yeah.
Did you know? Yeah.
As a service.
The way they were delivering this news story about Joe Biden was, I thought I was listening to them becoming defensive on behalf of Republican listeners to their network. And I immediately, of course, you know what I'm going to do. I immediately called in a voicemail to correct them. So we cannot let up. We got to keep reminding everybody of the reality of the situation we're in. Have a good day.
Thank you, Johnny. All right, let's go to brother Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, good morning. Brother
Good morning,
Alberto,
brother.
I got to tell y'all, man. Good morning to you. I got to tell you, man, you may mention earlier about the word con. And I just want to say that if you all remember that on KPFT, there was a show hosted by Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad called Connect the Dots.
Mm-hmm.
That was his motto. It was, the people are smarter than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Special Counsel Smith and Hunter Biden was not on the negotiation table when Trump and Biden was together at the White House? Do not be fooled, y'all. What else was on the table? Conditions was made. As the days move forward, just witness how many people start becoming released, and it has to be in a slow drip for now. Here's a picture I want to give to everybody. Two men parading around as peacemakers, sitting at the White House, really both a mischief maker. The Quran is a book that goes into the thinking of the minds of the people. I want to share these words, and you all think about it as the days move forward. From this section called Lip Perfection. It says, and when it is said to them, believe as the people believe, they say, shall we believe as the fools believe? Now surely they are the fools, but they know not. And when they meet those who believe, they say, we believe, and when they are alone with their mischief makers or devils, they say, surely we are mocking, we were with you the whole time. Think about it, and that's all I call to say, bro.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate your words. You have a wonderful rest of your day. All right, let's go to Sister Betty. Come on, Sister Betty.
Oh, good morning, Alberto. You okay?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing? I hope you had a good Turkey Day.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed the people, and my neighborhood is my family, okay? All of my neighborhoods.
Love to hear that. I love to hear that. But
on the Medicare, thank you. And on Medicare Advantage, let me say, they are not no Santa Claus. And they hurt the old where it hurts. We get run over enough. Like the guy said, leave us alone, And Joe was being a good father, being, to his daughter and son. Wouldn't you?
Of course I would.
Yes, wouldn't you? Yeah, just being a good father. And on Trump, like he said before, he was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay. He overloads his mouth, so look out for that. And thanks for letting a woman in the conversation. And on Tim Watt, as my sister used to say, Tim could eat crackers in her bed anytime. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day, Betty. Thank you so much for your call. Let's go to Brother Brian. Come on in, Brian. How you doing this morning?
Well, I was doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. So the president has the power to pardon. And what exactly did Biden pardon? A crackhead son. Now
Hmm.
that should be illegal.
Okay. It's not. I mean,
Okay.
that's not. It's not illegal because the Constitution gave the president that power. But go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, how many other people filled out a firearms form and went to jail? Quite
I
a
don't
few.
know. Okay.
I don't know exactly how many. I just found out last night that he pardoned a crackhead son.
No. He pardoned his son. Yeah, his son. But look, let me just say this, Brian. Brian, let me just say this, right? Uh, the president's son got caught. There are a lot of people all over this country. I have this conversation with my daughter all of the times. There are a lot of people doing so many bad things that don't get caught and that are respected out there. And there are a lot of people who get caught. When you get caught, you pay the price. Now, uh, I think if you notice how I mentioned this story, I said Biden is a privileged person. I have no love for Biden's son at all, or I don't. To put it bluntly, I really don't care. All I care about is some sort of fairness. And I do think that he was treated unfairly compared to others. And I think the media has treated this particular pardon differently than it has treated all the pardons that Donald Trump has given. That's all. I mean, like I said, I don't do any of these things. But at the same time, I understand that there are some people who failed in doing certain things, and sometimes a pardon is in order. And unfortunately, in our society, it's not done fairly, but you know, uh, we simply try to make a better society day after day. Anything else, Brian?
No, I've heard nothing but white privilege, white privilege, white privilege. And here is a
Hmm.
prime example of white privilege.
First of all, look. Let me tell you. Thank you for saying that, Brian, because there are a lot of things that had Trump been black or Trump been Latino, he would never make it to the presidency. The people would not have elected him with that kind of a character. So, you're right. We are surrounded by white privilege. That is true. But what we do is we try to mitigate that, right? We try to enlighten people that that is a bad thing, right? That what we should have is everybody playing on the same field. And I think you agree with that, don't you?
No, I do not.
You do not.
I
In
do
what
not
regards
agree with
don't
you.
you?
No,
Okay, tell me where don't you agree?
okay. First off, how many people got away with it? You're talking about
Uh,
white privilege. How
yeah,
many how many times have I heard what Trump did for the last 20 years, 30
a
years?
lot. You heard it a
And
lot, a
a
lot,
lot.
and he still gets to be president.
Yes, because he's a duly elected president. Race has
Exactly. And
nothing
what
to do with it.
but you're right, Brian. I am
Race
agreeing
has
with you.
nothing to do with it.
Brian, I'm agreeing with you. He got to be president with all those flaws. And I'm saying, had a person been black or Latino with all those flaws, if you want to be very honest and not look through some false glasses, that person would not have gotten that ability, that opportunity to do that. And we have a classic example with the last election. That's all I'm saying. You are proving my point. But I got to go. My phones are
No,
filling
I'm
up and I
not.
got to go. I
No,
don't
I'm
have
not.
much time. Okay, sir. Tomorrow we'll talk about it, but you proved my point. Let's go to Bruce.
Yeah, hi, Berto. I just
How you
want to
doing, my
say
brother?
you're very right. I'm doing great. I want to say you're exactly point on when it comes to the pardons. Trump pardoned people that were treasonous. He's threatening to pardon people that tried to overthrow the government. So you're absolutely right about the media not reporting that. And I only have two other quick things to say. One is I heard this from my grandfather. The working man voting for Republicans like a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. All right. And the third thing I got to ask you is, did you get the book I sent?
Actually, I think it's in. I got a text from the manager that said there's a package waiting for me at the studio. I'll go pick that up. But thank you so kindly, brother. I think it's in the studio.
Oh, that's all I got. I want to hear everybody else. Thank you very much for what you do. Bye.
You have a wonderful day, Bruce. Okay, let's go to Brother Bard. Come on in, Bard.
Yes, sir. Good morning. I thought Biden said he wasn't going to pardon his son.
He lied.
What happened?
He lied.
Again.
I knew he was going to pardon them all the way.
Again. Well, what I heard that was Hunter was going to write a book. So Dad said, okay, don't worry, son. I'll clear you. And the other thing was he went back to 2014. This is not about the crack or the felony firearms for him. This is about Burisma. He cleared him all the way back when Hunter was an executive in Ukraine. Remember that? He was
brother, he gave him an unconditional hold on. Sir, he gave him an unconditional pardon, so we don't have to go into all of that. Anything that Biden did that was illegal, he got a pardon for. Period. So, end the story. That's what he got, an unconditional pardon. Okay? So, true. Whatever happened with Burisma, which, the Justice Department went through, didn't find anything with Burisma. It found issues with the gun. It found issues with the crack. It found issues with those other things. All of that goes on. It disappears. It's pardoned. Any other subject, sir?
Well, we're going to give Biden a pass and see help to get Trump in office. So we are appreciative for that.
All right. You have a wonderful day, Bart. Thank you very much for calling, my brother. All right. Look, I just want to take these last few minutes to just say I had a great I don't want to call it Thanksgiving. I had a great Turkey Day. Okay. And as we went to eat, we had such fun, such camaraderie. And the reason I brought that up is we had foods from all over the world, right? Because, I hang around with people from all over, Americans, Africans, Latin Americans, Europeans, the whole shebang. And the food was great. And we just sat down there and enjoy all these different flavors and different people's stories, etc., as we sat down and had dinner. I mean, from jerk chicken to Sao Paulo to ginger lemonade, turkey, roll. I mean, American food, Panamanian food, and Guyana food, Jamaican food, Italian food, Spanish food. We had everything. And it was fun. And it was a culinary delight. And then I sit down here and watch us as a country and say that is what makes this kind of stuff great, that we can all, enjoy all these different cultures that make what this country really is. And, when my wife cooks, sometimes my wife cooks Panamanian food, sometimes she cooks soul food, sometimes she cooks Italian food. My daughter knows how to cook French food, all this kind of stuff. This mezcla de culturas, this mixture of cultures. And then I sit down and think about the last election and all the things that went through with the last election, to have people just hate on others that are culturally different, ethnically different, color-wise different. And for those people who fell for that, there is so much you're missing. There is so much. It is so much more rewarding, so much more pleasant when, as opposed to looking at what makes somebody somewhat different from you as something you should fear, hate, or otherwise, as opposed to embracing it. And as we sat down there and jive and talk and laugh and all that kind of stuff, and I don't drink alcohol per se. Every now and then I may have a beer with a friend just to break the ice, but I drink lemonade with ginger. Hell, that was great, man. First time I ever had lemonade and ginger fixed like that. I think she said that was Barbadian. I don't know what culture that was, but it was good. And I sat down for a little while, and I kind of stayed to myself for like 3 minutes and said, wow, If everybody could just experience this without fear, if everybody could just embrace, if you just did that, embrace something else and not look at it as a threat. The politicians, they need you to see other things as threats so that you can't work together to do things that are good for us all. That's why the subject today was about Bernie Sanders' letter that he sent out last night, as well as a healthcare issue with a friend that I interviewed. You can find that at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. But I just felt the need to say this. Folks, we have to stop allowing these politicians and these different groups to create situations that allow us to not enjoy each other. Think about it. Before I get out, let me throw it back to the studio.
And correct you are. You should enjoy life and you should enjoy other people. And the fear-based government that we're going to get, well, don't enjoy that at all. And for all the folks who voted for cheap eggs when they cost $20 a piece because of all the tariffs, I hope you enjoy them. Jack, what you got? He says, nah.
Hey, Jack,
says,
I appreciate.
Have anything.
Jack doesn't have anything. The world is coming to an end. But Jack, look, I appreciate how you started the program because that gave John, not John, Alan. Alan came out with I just love what Alan had to say. He'd stuck it to them when they try to move him on. But anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Please remember, love you all my callers, all my listeners. And I mean that from the depths of my heart. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American